Welcome back to the JB podcast. Dan Aquino is back. We're going to talk NBA trade deadline stuff and a kind of interesting day, especially for him. Coming up next.
So weird trade deadline. I think there was a lot of names that didn't get moved that people expected to, and a lot of deals for didn't seem like a lot of big moves, a lot of just marginal moves for a lot of teams. We'll start with the Knicks trade because I think that's probably the biggest one of the day.
Of course, you want to start with the Knicks trade, don't
Well,
you? No,
uh,
no, no. It was the biggest trade of the day by far, probably biggest trade of the deadline and in general.
yeah. So full details of the trade. The New York Knicks are sending Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 second rounders to Detroit for Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic. So immediately you see Bojan Bogdanovic, a 20-point per game scorer. Alec Burks, also a former Knick. He's had a pretty decent season for what has been a terrible season for the Pistons. And the Knicks send some of their bench depth. Some of these guys don't play. Evan Fournier finally off the Knicks. He doesn't just sit on the bench pouting all game. And they get much needed bench scoring, which has kind of been a problem ever since the OG Anunoby trade earlier this season. So, James Boyce, I ask you, what is your thoughts on this trade for the Knicks?
It's a no-brainer, man. This I couldn't believe the Pistons just gave the Knicks Bojan Bogdanovic. They just gave him away. And, listen, I'm a Nets fan. I'm a little salty. I had this thought. I was like, Leon Rose, I think, has made some mistakes in the past that kind of don't get enough attention, mainly because the Knicks have been good, especially because how Brunson has been. But the Obi Toppin over Tyrese Halliburton pick is a disaster of a draft choice, especially when they already had Randall and they needed a point guard. Like, to me, that is, thank God he signed Jalen Brunson. Seriously. And even with the Jalen Brunson signing, you cannot tell me he was expecting this from Jalen Brunson. Like, you cannot
Yeah, right.
tell me that Brunson being this good, like, is a huge thing for Leon Rose. Leon Rose did a good job, got Jalen Brunson, not saying it's a bad signing, but his, evolution as a player, I'm not giving Leon Rose necessarily all that credit. I'm giving more Jalen Brunson that credit. But with that being said, what Leon Rose did do is he didn't give up 5 first-round picks, RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly for Donovan Mitchell. He was smart, didn't bite on the Danny Ainge thing. And with that, he also has drafted good players. I'm not saying like he screwed up with the Toppin thing, I thought, but as far as drafting quickly, all those guys you turned quickly and Barrett into didn't want to pay quickly, make that a bad contract, turn that into OG Anunoby, which I know you weren't a fan of at the time, but Anunoby's been pretty good for the Knicks,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been a good fit for them. And it wasn't just you. A lot of Knicks fans weren't sure about that. They were like, they wanted more of kind of like a starry kind of guy, but Anunoby's been great. And the fact that Leon Rose has gotten Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, OG Anunoby, and Precious Achiuwa without giving up one first-round pick is pretty insane. And you have to consider him like he's on pace with all the draft assets that they have, with all the depth that they still have, because that was like the one thing after the Anunoby deal, no quickly, like, well, they don't have enough depth. Well, they've been winning without depth. And then they just added depth with Bogdanovic, who I argue is a better player than Emmanuel quickly. I think I could say that.
I don't
I,
think
I
you're
mean,
wrong.
I don't think that's a bad thing to say. And I'm sure Knicks
No.
fans will be like, whatever. I just value Bogdanovic more in a playoff series with his size and his kind of versatile scoring ability than quickly, who I think quickly's a guard, and there's a lot of guards in the NBA that can score. The Knicks got a guard who could score, Alec Burks. And then they just added this 6'8" forward who could score and play with anybody. He could play in a big lineup, can play in a small lineup. You know, I think that's an excellent move. And I see him playing in crunch time at the end. Um, either if it's Hartenstein, OG Anunoby, Randall, um, and Brunson, and I think you could slide Bogdanovich to even play like the two in that position. Like, I just that they have a lot of size. Like I said, it's gonna come down to Randall, man. It's gonna come down to Randall,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the Pistons are doing. I just you tell me you couldn't get one first from a contender for Bojan Bogdanovic?
He definitely
Like
could have.
a first, just
Just
a
one. Yeah,
first,
they definitely could have.
two second round picks. I mean, Knicks. What Leon Rose has done is he's decided to trade with a stupid team and just completely took away a valuable player for them, and it's genius. And honestly, I think he's set up as possibly being the best Knicks GM in their history. Who's he compared to? Ernie
I,
Grunfeld
I
in the
saw
90s?
I saw people tweeting that they're like, he has to be.
I mean,
Like
Ernie Grunfeld, helped build that 90s team, kinda. I don't think he drafted Ewing, no. So you could argue he probably could have done more to help them. My point is like, no, Dave DeBusschere is the one who drafted Ewing. But like, it's not like he has much competition, and the team has like this has years on it. This has legs. They're good now. They can get to the conference finals this year. They may even get to an NBA finals. I'm not sold on Boston or Milwaukee. Would I bet on it? No, but it's in the cards. And considering the weird stuff LeBron's been saying, I know Knicks
right.
fans. There's some Knicks fans that don't want LeBron. Like, give me a break. But I really think Embiid's in play for them. You and I have talked about it. I think Embiid's in
Yeah.
play because especially after this injury, especially I know Philly got Buddy Hield. We'll get to that later, but I don't think the 76ers roster around him is that good. And I think he'll see the Knicks roster. I think he'll, obviously has relationships with people in the front office. And Mitchell Robinson and the shit ton of first round picks seems like a pretty good offer for Embiid. I'm just saying. And worst case, you could put Randall in that deal.
Yeah. I think this quite literally probably is the best Knicks team of the 21st century. This other than the 2013 Knicks that we had with Melo, which was kind of just a 1 year kind of thing that worked. This is the best built Knicks team, I think would be better said, of the 21st century. The Brunson deal, you're right. I mean, people kind of hated on the deal right away because Brunson was what, a 17 point per game scorer, and we gave him $100 million over 4 years. People are like, what is that? I'm not going to give Leon Rose credit for that as much because I don't think anyone saw this. No one saw him being this good. Like, he has been literally one of the best guards in the NBA. I mean, that's just crazy to think for someone so small but so skilled. This deal I love, obviously. Alec Burks, he was on the Knicks prior. The problem with Alec Burks at that time is Tibbs played in my point guard. I hope we don't see that ever again.
Probably
But
won't.
Bojan Bogdanovic is someone that has been thrown around in trade talks for like the past 2 years, has been kind of just forgotten about in Detroit. But he's a really good scorer, has been his whole career. That is a huge pickup for a Knicks team that one sometimes lacks shooting, and also lacks scoring off the bench. And especially now with the injuries that they're dealing with, Quentin Grimes was hurt, but he's not going to be in Detroit. Randall's dealing with the dislocated shoulder, no Mitch, and OG Anunoby is also dealing with an elbow inflammation injury that kind of getting a little concerning given how long it's been. Because they said it was going to be day to day. It's been about a week now, and we've had no update on it. But this is a needed boost for a team that has a path here, I think, to really making a deep playoff run. Embiid, we don't know what's going on with his injury. What exactly is the extent of his
I I
meniscus
I think
injury?
he's done, dude.
I also think so. But there's
Because
like,
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say was I think he's done, and it just this whole thing sounds like Philadelphia trying to tell their fans, like trying to let them down easy
Hmm.
and being like, no, no, he could still come back. We could still compete for a title. It all sounds like, I mean, they said 4 weeks for a
To
torn meniscus.
reevaluate him. Four
Yeah,
weeks to
it's just,
reevaluate him.
I mean, I
And
don't know.
the meniscus is, people who have had that injury, there's many different things they can do, and depending on what exactly they did to repair it, it can take, only about 6 weeks, it could take 16 weeks, it could take months. So And the way Kaminga, I think, is what I don't know if he had this injury prior, but Kaminga falling on his knee definitely is what took him out. But Philly, they have been not good without him being. Maxey obviously is going to still score, but they have not been good. So if the Knicks find a way really to get up in the standings, Milwaukee has been a disaster defensively, even with Doc Rivers now coaching. And then Boston, you mentioned it. Boston made a good move yesterday with Xavier Tillman. I think they traded a second round pick or something like that. That's a good move for them. Give them a little more front court depth. But I do think the Knicks can really compete fully healthy with any team in the Eastern Conference, and that is also in due to part these two deals that he made, that Leon Rose made this season with OG Anunoby and Bogdanovich and Burks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's what do you want me to say, man? I'm a Net fan. What do you want me to say? I am so jealous right now. It's like I'll admit it, I am. This is because the Knicks are basically doing what the Nets were doing before Katie and Kyrie went there. That's basically what they're doing. Like they did this whole thing. We're like, all right, we're gonna build like a small market, almost like no one wants to come here. We're gonna get guys that want to get come here, play hard. We're gonna hire a good coach that's gonna help us, play hard every night, compete every night, be a good defensive team, kind of get these guys who are underachievers, or I'm sorry, that didn't achieve anywhere else, or people might have doubted them, and then we're gonna take them here and we're gonna build a team out of it. That's basically what they've done. Only they didn't sign Katie and Kyrie to kind of ruin it. They're just sticking stable, getting a bunch of no drama, hardworking guys. There's this huge James Dolan story going on. So, like, that's another thing, too. Like, if this James Dolan story is true and the NBA finds a way to get him out, all right, that's like another world. Like, a Knicks fan's fantasy without James Dolan. I mean, you could go anywhere. I mean, they're doing this with him still there, and this huge story that's going on. It's like you haven't even really heard about it though, because the Knicks are winning. It's very scary. It's very scary. And you know what? Like Boston is really good, but like I said, like if you're telling me Joe Mazzulla, Tom Thibodeau in a playoff series, I'm going with Tom Thibodeau, like as the better coach. And the Bucks are a disaster defensively. They're like a team that has won that many games, and yet I still look at them like, I need more from you guys. Like even with Doc, and Doc's not a great coach in the playoffs either. So
Yeah,
considering how
we
bad the
know his track
defense
record. Yeah.
is, considering how bad the defense is for the Bucks, and you got a coach that can't win or close out in the playoffs. I mean, having a bad defensive team with that is kind of a disaster. I'm just saying, I'm not saying they shouldn't have fired Adrian Griffin. They probably should have. They probably made the right move. And Doc, it was probably the best coach out there. I'm gonna fight for Mike D'Antoni all day, but he's not gonna help your defense.
No.
Um, so you know, I just look at it like if the Knicks went to the NBA Finals, I could see a path. I could. I could see a path, but it's going to come down to Julius Randle. He's got to play well in the playoffs this year. If he's healthy, he's got to play well. It's that simple. And you know what? It could happen. It could happen.
Good. Let's talk about your Nets,
No. Oh
because a
boy.
lot of names from the Nets were, thrown around for the trade deadline, and Spencer Dinwiddie ends up being the only one moved.
Mhm.
The Raptors trading Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young, who's still in the league. Good for him. Um,
Still good too.
yeah, to the Nets for Spencer Dinwiddie. So
Mhm.
we've talked about Spencer Dinwiddie. He's out there just kind of going through the motions. So just off of that, I think that's a good thing that you moved him. You get Dennis Schroeder, who has been a good point guard in his career, whether he starts or comes off the bench, can play defense, decent playmaker, can also score. Not a great shooter, but someone that is reliable, healthy, and will always play hard. So I think that in itself is helpful to the Nets. But Royce O'Neal still in net, Dorian Finney-Smith still in net, Cam Johnson still in net. So
Did you say
what
Royce O'Neal is still in it?
is he not? Oh, right, he got
No,
traded to
he was traded. He
Phoenix.
was traded.
Traded to Phoenix, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 3 second round
Okay,
picks.
so still Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson still
That's the
Nets.
shocker. Cam Johnson, I
Yeah.
knew wasn't going anywhere. Dorian Finney-Smith is the shocker. I thought he
Mhm.
was for sure gone. He hasn't played in a week, and it's basically because the Nets have been like, "Hey, we're looking to trade you." And then
Right.
there was this like clip after the Mavericks game where like it looked like Finney Smith went up to Hardy and said like, "I'm coming,
Oh
bro."
yes,
Like,
I
he
did
said
see this.
something like that. It
Yeah.
was weird. It was very weird. But Finney Smith's still in that. And honestly, a few weeks ago, like I was kind of like on the boat of like if the Nets are trying to win and compete now, trading Finney Smith over say someone like Cam Johnson doesn't make sense to me because I think Cam Johnson is a way worse contract and a way worse player. And Finney Smith is a guy that I know could like is on a championship team. Like I know that guy's really good. So, you know, there were reports they declined trades that they wanted 3 first-round picks, I think. They were offered
Yeah.
2 at times and then you end up with none. Kind of like what Toronto. Their asking price was so high that they didn't really end up with anything for first round pick wise for OG Anunoby, and they got 3 for Siakam, but they wanted like 4 to 5 for Siakam. So like, and they got no players in that trade. They got Bruce Brown, but they haven't done anything with Bruce Brown, which is another shocker. Um,
Yeah,
so the Finney
true.
Smith thing was shocking, although I'm not gonna like hate on it. I'm not gonna be like, oh wow, okay. Like I like Finney Smith, I do, and I like Schroeder. I
Yeah.
think Schroeder's a good player, and I like Thaddeus Young. Here's what I'm gonna say because the Nets Twitter is I've seen some people kind of like okay with what's happened, but I there's a ton of people really upset about it.
Of course.
And they're really upset with Sean Marks. And here's what I have to say. Because a lot of them are like, the Nets are still directionless after this trade deadline.
Mm.
No, they're not. They have a direction. You just don't like the direction. It's really that simple. The direction is clearly to stay competitive, even though they're kind of losing. It's clear to keep some of these players to get Donovan Mitchell. That's clearly the path to me because Donovan Mitchell's a free agent in 2025. I
Hmm.
believe that's the case, right? He's a free
Yes.
agent in 2025. So the Nets have the assets to trade for Donovan Mitchell. That's number one. Cleveland's doing really well, and they're like, oh well, why would Donovan Mitchell leave Cleveland? That's what a lot of like, especially a lot of Nets like sarcastic people like are like, why would he go to Brooklyn over? He's winning in Cleveland because he hasn't signed an extension with Cleveland, and they had a good season last year. Do we think Cleveland's going to the conference finals? Do we think if Cleveland loses in the second round this year, okay, last year they lost in the first round. But if they lose in the second round this year, is Donovan Mitchell going to extend with Cleveland? You
I
know,
don't think so.
to be in a place where he didn't really want to be in the first place? And then people are like, well, what about the Knicks? They could go after Mitchell. We've discussed this. Brunson Mitchell together doesn't make any sense to me. And also, who are they going to trade for him? Who are they
I
going to
think I
trade?
think that ship has sailed in terms of
The only
trading
thing
for
that would
Donovan
make
Mitchell.
sense is if they trade Randall for him, and then Cleveland would get Randall and pair him with like Mobley, and then like trade Jarrett Allen. But Jarrett Allen's been playing well recently. It's just I don't know why Cleveland would want Randall in a trade. I think they would rather have more flexibility. Plus the Knicks would not give them the first round picks, and to me, Cleveland doesn't want to trade Donovan Mitchell. And if they don't want to trade Donovan Mitchell, Mitchell could walk in 2025 for nothing. And the Nets would have the cap space to bring him on and give up nothing.
Hmm.
So to me,
Exactly.
that's their plan. Like now, Nets fans don't like it. And they may think like, oh, why would Donovan Mitchell come here? But that's the plan to me. Now, if it works, I don't know. But I think the Nets have some sort of intel like, hey, Mitchell's interested in going there. That's the only reason. Because if it doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't trade Mikal Bridges if that wasn't the case. If they
Right.
knew, like, hey, Mikal Bridges is friends with Donovan Mitchell, Mitchell wants to go to the New York area. Sean Marks is a big fan of Donovan Mitchell, almost traded up for him back in the day. Like, you know, it just makes sense that he's the dude. Like that's why you're not, and it also makes sense why you're keeping Finney Smith in some ways. If you're keeping Finney Smith on the roster, he's a guy that would fit well hypothetically with Donovan Mitchell, or maybe you trade Finney Smith in the summer. There's all this stuff, but to me, that's the plan. Like, there's nothing more to that. Like, if they traded for DeJounte Murray, I think some Nets fans would have been happy with that. I'm cool with not giving up Phoenix picks for DeJounte Murray. I'm cool with it. Spencer Dinwiddie in the last month, and you and I were texting it the other day, Dallas
Mhm.
game. He has quit on this team in the last month. He has quit on this team. He went on Twitter the other day saying, like, I'm not a quitter, whatever. Whatever. Like, our eyes see it, man. I love Spencer Dinwiddie and what he did a few years ago, and I was happy to bring him back in the Kyrie trade. And I thought he was good last year, and I thought at times early in the season he was good. For the last month, he has been a straight up bad player. That's why he's being bought out by Toronto. That's why he's probably going to go sign with the Lakers, or you know what I mean, for like nothing. It's probably why the Lakers didn't make a move. So like the fact that they got Dennis Schroeder, who I like, and he's under contract next year, so he'll be on the team. And Thaddeus Young, nice veteran dude to have in your locker room for a guy who really hasn't been a basketball player the last month for your team. I'm okay with that. Now, Nets fans aren't, but I think they just wanted a direction today, a direction that they approved of. Listen, the direction is Donovan Mitchell, and it's abundantly clear to me.
Yeah, I like that. So we have a direction, you just don't like the direction.
That's what it is.
It's literally what
And
it is.
that's why and I know Nets fans that know that. They know the direction. They know the direction is wait till Donovan Mitchell. And that's why they want Sean Marks gone. Like cuz they think like listen, like what's that going to get us? Or like what's the plan here? Like what are we doing here? Like if is it just Donovan Mitchell, Mikal Bridges go from there? I mean, I think it would be a great situation if the Nets signed Donovan Mitchell straight up for nothing, didn't have to give up any of their picks. I think that's what they're trying to do right now, to be honest. I don't think they really want to trade for Mitchell in the summer. I think they kind of want to wait till free agency to get him for nothing. And maybe they're in communication with Mitchell. I don't know. You know, if Cleveland
Right.
doesn't want to trade him, then Mitchell will be like, all right, I'll just walk, you know? And I know stars don't hit free agency anymore, but it could be the first one in a while that does that. But, you know, that's just my thinking.
Yeah, I think the Cleveland situation is interesting because now that they've kind of revived their season with they had a really poor start and I think they were like second at some point earlier this week. I'm not sure where they are now exactly.
And
But
here's the thing. Here's the thing, too. Like, to go back to the thing where, like, Nets fans are like, yeah, well, why would Mitchell leave Cleveland? Like I already went there before that they wouldn't extend him. And like I said, things change quickly. It doesn't matter if you're the 2 seed in February. We do this every year. Like there's a
mhm,
team that's really good and is a threat. Things are going well. Cleveland's kind of like been unbeatable for a while. Like they've been very good. No one's picking Cleveland to go past the second round this year. Nobody.
exactly. But
I
it
think
is.
people would have the Knicks over them, especially after today.
That's true. And we all know Donovan Mitchell wants to be in New York. Like that's where he's wanted to be the entire time.
Hmm. And if the Knicks really wanted him, I've said this before. If the Knicks really wanted him, then I think that's a big possibility. I don't think they really want him.
Yeah, doesn't sound that way. Um, let's see some of these other deals we
Mm.
saw. I think one of the bigger ones was the Dallas Mavericks trading Grant Williams to the Hornets for PJ Washington. They also sent Seth Curry and a first rounder. So one of the few deals today that a first rounder was actually sent.
Mm.
Uh, Grant Williams obviously signed with Dallas in the offseason, hasn't had a great season, and Dallas is kind of in a similar position they were last season, where they're not great when Kyrie and Luka both play. And PJ Washington's been having a good season in Charlotte. It's been a bad season overall for them, but PJ Washington, I think he had like a 40-point game last week or some time ago. So kind of a swap there. PJ Washington gets to start in Dallas, and Dallas is on this I don't know what kind of attempt this is to try to build a great team around Luka, but this is what they're trying to do.
So, is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, because honestly, I mean,
Because I have
like,
something to say here.
because like I've been literally thinking about this trade. I was just like, Seth Curry, Grant Williams, and a first rounder for just PJ Washington. Like,
Dude,
what is that?
Dallas. Let me try to make some Nets fans feel a little better. We own the Dallas Mavericks pick in 2029. And Dallas sent a first round pick for Grant Williams, unprotected, to San Antonio. San Antonio is also going crazy right now to get Grant Williams, they traded an unprotected first round pick, right? And now they're trading another one. Granted, I think this is protected, plus Grant Williams for PJ Washington, who's good, but is he that much better than Grant Williams? Like, is he that? I know Grant Williams hasn't played well. I get it.
Right. Yeah.
Is he that much? We've seen Grant Williams give very good minutes for Boston. Now, granted, that was 2 years ago. Like he didn't have a great year in Boston last year, and this year he didn't have a great year either. So maybe Grant Williams is who he is. Maybe he had just had one good season. But PJ Washington, what makes I don't even think it makes him a 7th seed.
It's a lateral move.
He makes them better though. Like I understand what they're thinking, and I would feel much better about it if they had more draft assets. But they don't.
Right.
So this is kind of like they're going all in on this Luka Kyrie team with the questionable coach and kid, a team with doesn't play any defense. And listen, man, I've told you, I'm holding on to my Dallas missing the play-in stock. I still am. Because Golden State's
Man.
out of the play-in, correct?
Yeah.
And Golden State, listen, I watched Golden State play Brooklyn the other day. Granted, not a great performance by Brooklyn. Kuminga is a problem. I watched Kuminga, man. He's a freaking brick wall, and he's good. And thank God Golden State didn't trade him for Alex Caruso, which I think was a reported possible attempt.
Wow.
Thank God, man. I would not trade Kuminga. Unless you're getting like an all-star, I wouldn't trade Kuminga. And Clay's confidence is shot, that all that. But my point is like I don't know, man. Like I just wouldn't. Dallas is so a team that I think is not being talked about as a team that's completely going nowhere. And if you're here to tell me that these Kyrie stands, they want to act like, oh, he's way better than Jalen Brunson. Is he? Is he? We're seeing it, man. He's not better than Jalen Brunson. He doesn't affect the game as much as Jalen Brunson does. He may be more talented than him. He is in no way better. How just look at them. Look at where both players are at. Kyrie's the second best player on his team, and they're the 8th seed. Like,
There
come
you
on.
go. Yeah.
Jalen Brunson's the best player on this team, and they could possibly go to the finals. I don't know what Dallas is doing. And they
Yeah.
they made this mistake when they didn't re-sign Jalen Brunson. Huge mistake. And you know how for years Mark Cuban was like, "Oh, the worst mistake of my career was not re-signing Steve Nash." He made the same mistake with Jalen Brunson,
Yeah, you're right.
and they're even
Dallas.
more screwed now because Luka could leave, and
Yeah.
Dirk didn't want it.
I forget how much longer Luca has on this deal. I think it's 3 years. I would have to confirm that. But yeah, I just like when I saw the trade earlier, I was just like, okay, like PJ Washington is a good player. Grant Williams, you sell him low. He hasn't been great. Charlotte's getting a guy that maybe is a little more mature because they obviously have, I think, culture issues in Charlotte because it doesn't make sense that they're still this bad with some of the talent they had. Barring LaMelo has been in and out of the lineup for the past like 2 years. Charlotte weird sending Rozier out. Gordon Hayward's now in Oklahoma City, and now PJ Washington. So sending some of those young guys out or some of the like core. But Dallas, you're right. Kyrie Irving, not only is he not available all the time, but if he's not scoring, he doesn't affect the game in any aspect.
Not at
And I
all.
honestly think Dallas has played better when it's just Luka doing everything. They score more. They
And
still
that's
play.
not sustainable.
It's exactly. That's not going to win in the playoffs because Luka, if everything evolves around him, all you got to do is find a way to slow him down, throw
Mhm.
doubles at him, just get him out of his rhythm, and then you're relying on what Tim Hardaway Jr. to create offense for you, Dante Exum,
Mhm.
Josh Green,
Yeah.
Jaden Hardy. It's just not a great roster up and down, and I question how much faith they have in this Luka Kyrie duo. That this is basically their plan because like you mentioned, they're sending out all this draft capital. If this doesn't work and Lucas sees, this is not working, And if he leaves, you're left with nothing.
I think they dropped the ball not going hard after Siakam. I would have literally done that. Because if you're gonna go all in on this team, which you're kind of forced to, he would have been the perfect or Jeremy Grant, get someone in there that could play some defense and be kind of like this third option to like Luka, Siakam, Kyrie makes a lot of sense to me. I think you could kind of take any scraps for role players and kind of make that work.
Hmm.
No, they go with PJ Washington, who granted makes them a little bit better, but it kind of reminds me of like some of those like it's not completely directed to it because it is like kind of reminds me of when the Nets traded for Gerald Wallace back in like
Mm.
2011, 2012. Now the Nets were way worse, don't get me wrong, they were a worse team at the time, but they were still like trying to like win and they wanted to keep Darren Williams there. Luka's not expiring, so it's different. But my point is like it made them better in the moment,
Hmm.
but kind of hurt them in the future. Like PJ's a young kid, like he's a young guy, so he's not old. So, but he's kind of is who he is. You know, he's just he's a solid player, and he'll help them now. But that team has so many issues. As PJ Washington fixing it is just ridiculous.
Right. Luca is a free agent possibly in 2027. So it's still some time here, but with the lack of assets, you're really handicapped in how you can improve this team. To a team that we thought was handicapped in assets and found a way to still get some players, the Phoenix Suns. We mentioned Royce O'Neal, now a Phoenix Sun.
I
Uh,
just want to, if you don't mind, I just want to add one more thing to the Dallas thing.
Go ahead.
If Dallas does what I think is plausible this year and misses the play-in again or loses in the play-in, okay, or loses in the first round, how do they get better? And is Luka going to be okay with missing the play-in or losing in the first round of the playoffs in the next 2 years before his, because you said his contract ends in 2027. I mean, if
Mhm.
it's 2025 and it's 3 straight years of them really disappointing, how does he not? How do you think he's going to react to that? Because there's not many ways they can improve the team now.
Right.
They have no draft assets. Their hope is Kyrie and Luka figure it out and play more games. That's what they keep saying. It's like, oh, Kyrie and Luka, they need to play more games together. It's like, okay. They're under
Right.
500 when they play together. And this is what every fan base kind of gets wrong. And I'll admit it, gets the thing with Kyrie. You see Kyrie's highlights, you see his explosive one game performances, and then you'll watch him every night or sorry, every once in a while because he barely plays sometimes. Like, okay, for example, like that nationally televised game versus the Nets, he has that sick dunk. He's hitting the dagger threes at the end. It's like,
Hmm.
oh my god, like look at him stick it to the Nets. Oh my god, yeah. All right, watch when it matters. Seriously, like it's really rough. The only time he's ever done it was with LeBron. I'm just saying, man, if it
Hmm.
doesn't work this year, like where are they going? How do they make the roster better?
Yeah.
It,
And
it and then Kyrie asks out. He's like, you know what, this stinks. LeBron's not coming to Dallas. All right, I think I'm gonna go somewhere else. Like I'm just saying, it's bleak and no one's talking about it.
and if you look at the playing teams right now, Sacramento is in the playing tournament as of right now.
Hmm.
Dallas, the Lakers, and the Utah Jazz, who
Hmm.
have been pretty good the past month or so.
Hmm.
Those are not easy matchups. Either one. They could lose to any one of those three teams
If
in a playing tournament.
if the if Dallas does not retain Luca and doesn't make this work with Luca and Kyrie, that Grant Williams trade could be one of the worst in the 21st century. Unprotected first for Grant Williams. PJ Washington is better than Grant Williams, and he was a protected first.
Right.
Unprotected for Grant Williams. And I remember some people being like, I like the Grant Williams trade for Dallas. I like, what? That's a late that pick's way down the line, and it's for Grant Williams.
Right.
But I guess it's gonna be okay. That's 6 years down the line. Who cares? Like that thinking can, especially in Dallas' situation, can screw you. So you want to talk about Phoenix? Go ahead.
Phoenix. I mean, we heard there was stuff that they might go after Miles Bridges, who apparently has can veto trades, which is I think it's kind of crazy that they gave Miles Bridges that type of power,
What a
uh,
mess.
given his history. And but Charlotte's going to keep him. He's had a good season. Um, Phoenix was looking to get better on the margins, looking to bolster their depth a little bit and their bench. They've been playing better as of late. I think they're out of the fifth seed right now because finally got the three guys together. And now they add another 3-point shooter and Royce O'Neal from your Nets. Um, I mean, it's not the huge deal, but does that kind of make it look a little better for Phoenix and their chances here in the Western Conference?
I understand. I mean, I think it's a pretty good trade for Phoenix. Because didn't Phoenix retain their some draft assets from Memphis? I'm pretty sure they got some picks back
Mm.
in the deal. I'm pretty sure they got Royce. And who was the other guy they got? David Roddy.
Right. Yes, from Memphis. Right. I did see
Memphis
that.
Memphis got a bunch of like kind of crap. I mean, well, not really, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, when I first saw it, I thought the Nets were getting all those guys. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. But no, they didn't. They got Memphis got Utah Watanabe, who played good for Brooklyn last year. Jordan Goodwin, bajke-beatz, Giop, and Meadow.
Okay.
So that's who Memphis got. And Phoenix got David Roddy, Royce O'Neal, and the Nets got 3 second-round picks for basically for Royce O'Neal. I'm pretty sure Phoenix, I think, might have gotten some draft capital in that too. But it's a pretty good trade for Phoenix, honestly. Like Royce O'Neal helps them. He's gonna start, I would think, for them because who else would start?
They've started a couple different guys. They've started Eric Gordon some games, Grayson Allen. They've
Mm,
started a Kogi. So it's been kind of a
he'll start
revolving
over a
door.
Kogi. He'll start over a Kogi.
Yeah, it's been a revolving door of who's that fifth guy going to be on the wing, starting with them.
So okay, so it's the big three, and then what? Grayson Allen's been playing pretty good for them, so then it's probably Nurkic and those three, and then either Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neal or Eric Gordon, that kind of sliding door.
Yeah.
Um, I would put Royce O'Neal in the starting lineup. If you're going to start the big three, if you got Booker, Beal, Durant, and I would probably play Royce, and then start Royce, and then I would play. They kept Nasir Little, who was a guy that was heavily rumored to be in that trade, who I would have liked on the Nets, honestly, if they were going to do that. Um, 3 second-round picks with listen, as bad as Marks is to some people, especially around the Nets right now, who just want him gone. He is really good at drafting players. He just always has been. Found Nick Claxton in the second round. He found Jared Allen in the late first round, Karis LeVert. Like he's good at drafting players. So 3 second-round picks for Royce O'Neal, I don't think is bad for them personally. For Phoenix though, Royce is good. Here's what I will warn Phoenix fans.
A warning about Royce O'Neal.
Royce O'Neal's defense is overrated. As a perimeter defensive player, he's not very good. Post defender, I think he's all right. I think he's good. Um, he did not make a shot in the playoffs last year. Not one shot. It was
Like
very frustrating.
the entire playoff. Well,
The entire playoffs, I mean, he might have made one. He kept shooting and he was not making anything. That and he didn't play well the playoffs the year before that either with Utah. So
mm,
Phoenix, I'm assuming Suns fans are thinking, oh, we're getting this guy, Royce O'Neal. He's played in a lot of playoff games. He's been in big games. He's a good defender. He's a 3-and-D guy. He can make his threes in the regular season, but in the postseason, he's not great. And I actually think he's kind of declining. So just don't be shocked if this Phoenix Suns fans hate Royce O'Neal in the playoffs. I'm just saying.
yeah.
Like if the big three are playing well and Royce isn't making anything. Like just don't be shocked if that happens.
Yeah, that's very possible. I think it's a good deal. It just gives them more options because, like I mentioned, they they're
Good
big.
trade. Good
Yeah,
trade.
it's a
I'm
good
not here
trade.
to
It gives
rip
them
on the
more
trade.
options. Yeah, because depending on the matchup, depending on who's playing well, you have options there to start alongside the big three in Nurkic. Phoenix has looked to kind of figure it out these last few weeks. And now you get someone else who can also, in theory, shoot and play defense. And under Frank Vogel, I mean, maybe he improves. Who knows? Now to one of the biggest things we thought would be traded, DeJounte Murray.
Mhm.
Shocked that he's not traded. Uh, Mostly, I think, because the Hawks, they were never going to get what they initially traded for DeJounte Murray with the Spurs. They gave up multiple first round picks, a pick swap. They were never going to get that. That's just not what the market was here at the deadline. Of course, the Lakers come up with nothing, and Miami comes up with nothing. Guys that, teams that we thought would probably trade for DeJounte Murray, at least try to. So Atlanta now, they're going to continue with this group and see where it goes, just play out the season. And then in the offseason, where people expect things to be a lot more hectic in terms of more higher end players becoming available being for trade. So DeJounte Murray, is that still an option for you as a Nets fan? Is that still something you're going to look towards at the in the off season? Is that someone you could still try and target?
Um, Probably. Yeah. I'm indifferent to Murray. I would have been cool if we got him, but they didn't. I think the Nets just kind of saw it like it doesn't really make sense to give them 2 first-round picks because no one else really will. And I think the Nets were kind of smart in that way. Although here's the thing with Murray. He's not a good defender anymore. He's not that guy. He's not that people still think he's that guy and he's not really that guy
Once you
anymore.
get that reputation, it kind of stick with you. Like no matter if
Well, yeah, because he'll get a steal
it.
but
Right.
I also don't know because it's like he went to Atlanta and he stopped playing defense as soon as he left San Antonio. So I wonder if it's partly situation, but
Interesting.
with him, it's like the Lakers thing didn't make much sense to me. Um, some people guaranteed it, like I guarantee DeJounte Murray is going to be a Laker. It's like, really?
They weren't getting anything. They didn't want D'Angelo Russell. So like
And they
that,
shouldn't. Why would they
yeah,
want
yeah.
D'Angelo Russell? Like for like honestly, like Spencer Dinwiddie at least like don't get me wrong, Russell's been way better than Spencer Dinwiddie. Um, but Dinwiddie and Finney Smith made more sense for Atlanta than D'Angelo Russell. Like, first of all, it would have been stupid for the Lakers because they would have had given up that one pick that they have. And it's like,
Hmm.
I've talked about in the past, like Lakers giving up picks, I think doesn't mean as bad as other teams giving up picks because they're the Lakers. Just the name itself will help them. Also, there's people on that roster that they can get value from, I think. But with Russell, like he is zero fit with Atlanta. Why would Atlanta want D'Angelo Russell? Dinwiddie has a history of playing well off stars, like ball dominant stars, like Luca, like Trae Young, like and Dinwiddie together defensively would be atrocious. But like I could see Dinwiddie like coming in, running the offense off the bench, playing well with Trae Young together. Um, but and Finney Smith would be an excellent defensive player. You could put him with Jalen Johnson, find maybe another suitor for Hunter, and just kind of go from there. Like that would have made more sense. And the Nets would probably give up a first or something. As far as the future for Murray, I know Marks is a Spurs guy and Murray's a Spurs dude, and I think they've kind of always been interested in one another. I'm curious to see. I don't expect Murray to be there in the offseason though. And I'm not sure if Atlanta's going to get a better offer than they were thinking. I don't think they're going to get 2 firsts. Because why? Because the Pelicans one at least kind of made sense. Like I could see DeJounte Murray like giving them a real point guard kind of thing and then partnering up with CJ and Jordan Hawkins. They wanted Herb Jones back. I that makes a lot of sense for New Orleans, especially because New
It
Orleans
does.
kind of starving. Like they don't get stars, and Murray's not really a star. He's just kind of like a fringe all-star kind of like he made an all-star team in his past, and he's still good. But is he a top 20 guard in the NBA? I'm not sure about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like Bill Simmons was talking
Yeah.
about that the other day. Is he a top 20 guard? Like, I don't think
Yeah.
he is necessarily. So I'm not upset that the Nets didn't get him. I'm not. I think I was actually happy the Lakers didn't get him because I actually think it would have kind of made more problems. But the Lakers not making any moves is a little shocking, especially with their fan base. They were like, Palinka, make a move. But I think they're gonna get Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah. That seems like a possibility with the buyout market. And they'll, they can get him for cheap. The Lakers not making a move, I don't think it's that surprising. Because once the news came out that DeJounte Murray wasn't going to get moved, they weren't going to make any other moves. And especially with D'Lo playing the way he's played the past like 3 weeks, it kind of became like, are we sure we want to trade D'Angelo Russell? He can opt out and leave at the end of the season, which is kind of the reason they were going to trade him. Because if he just walks, now you got to fill that void anyway. Uh, but I think the whole LeBron situation has made this a little more complicated because now, if you are getting the feeling that he is going to look elsewhere, then you can't, it doesn't make sense to give away that 2029 first pick and to go all in on this roster if he's going to end up leaving anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is now a real possibility because I think he did want the front office to do something, try to make this team better because right now they're the ninth seed. They're just a mediocre team. They're not great, despite the talent that they have, especially, the two all NBA players, and you're not a competitive team. It's not working. And then the coach is a problem, everything. So now, you know, add Dinwiddie. Okay, sure, that gives them something off the bench. Maybe Dinwiddie gets up to play for them more than he did in Brooklyn. But I think the Lakers are now going to they're going to look to the future. They have this pipe dream, though, because I saw a report about it, that they're going to have 3 first-round picks available in the summer, and they're going to try for Donovan Mitchell. I don't know if Donovan Mitchell has
It's not
uh,
gonna happen.
any desire to go
It's
play in
not. It's
LA.
just. It's
Yeah,
impossible.
it's just
They have
even
no
if it was,
firsts.
yeah, even if it was, there's other teams with better assets. The Knicks could outbid them, the Thunder could outbid them, the Magic, the Nets. Like there's a bunch of teams that could
It's never
offer
gonna
more.
happen. It's they used to say this stuff all the time. Like, remember the Trae Young rumors? Like the Lakers are interested in Trae Young. It's like, of course, it's never gonna happen ever. It's not happening. Kyrie makes sense. I think Kyrie is possible. Like if Dallas flames out, Kyrie's like, I want out, and like the Lakers like, we'll get Kyrie if you'll stay, LeBron, and LeBron's like, okay. And can we just talk about this? I'm so sick and tired of hearing of LeBron saying he needs help. I'm sick of it. You and I picked the Lakers to go to the finals this year. This
We did.
roster is not garbage. It's
We
just
did.
not. Why? He's just not as good anymore. He's not. He's amazing. Don't get me wrong. He's a top 7 player in the NBA, I would say, top 10. Like, LeBron, your team is good. Okay. Like, you got talented guys on the team. Like, you do. Russell's playing great. Okay. I know there's been injuries. You could say the coach. That's fine too. I understand that. They probably fumbled the bag. They should have hired Ty Lue all those years ago. Stop acting like your roster's crap. It's not. This is not the 2018 Cavs. He's playing with Anthony Davis. I mean, come on. D'Angelo Russell he's been on fire for a month. He's basically playing the best he's been playing since Brooklyn. Like since that whole All-Star appearance. Like, go on, win games, man. Like, I'm sick of hearing this. He doesn't have enough help, and that DeJounte Murray's gonna fix it or Zach LaVine's gonna fix it. It's like, no.
No.
It's like the team has good players on it. Let's win. The conference is good, LeBron. They're younger. I get it, but I'm sick of hearing it. And you know what? The Lakers did the right thing not trading for DeJounte Murray because guess what? They're going to get Spencer Dinwiddie. I just see the report from Dave McMenamin. McMenamin? Is that how you say his name?
McMenamin.
McMenamin. Okay. That name's a nightmare. Sorry. Yeah, Dave McMenamin. Okay. I obviously know who he is. But he said Spencer Dinwiddie is the Lakers the favorites for him. And it makes sense.
Right.
Dinwiddie's from California. The Lakers have already, expressed their interest for him. Dorian Finney-Smith or Royce O'Neal as like a backup plan if they didn't get DeJounte Murray. Like Spencer Dinwiddie's going to the Lakers. Like, he's just going to the Lakers and they're going to get him on the buyout market without giving up anything. And that's a good addition. And if you're
Yeah.
worried about the fit with D'Angelo Russell, they've played before. They know how it works. So it's a good addition.
Yeah. I think I think the Lakers they just gotta they made their bet. I think they just gotta lay in it now. And they if LeBron leaves, LeBron leaves. It's been real.
Yeah.
Like at that point, like it is what it is. He is 39, gonna be 40. I think that
Where's he
is a
going? Where's he going that's better? The Knicks? Because the Knicks can't sign him
no, because it put him
unless
like
he
way
like
over.
signs for like the minimum.
Well, there's of course there's the Bronny stuff. If Bronny gets
Of course,
drafted,
but you
they
you
want to.
think Bronny's an NBA player? You think Bronny's getting drafted this year? He's averaging 5 a game at USC.
Yeah, I think I think the bad thing is probably just off of his name alone and the possibility of getting LeBron to come where you draft him. He could get drafted like probably early in
Not
the
this
second round.
year. Not this year.
He I think a team in the second round probably take a chance just because of that. But if he wants to be like a legitimate like actual NBA player that gets drafted in the first round, he's probably going to need another year or two in college. Um,
Yep.
so if that's the case, I mean, I don't know where LeBron goes. Honestly, back to Miami, I don't know. That's the thing. Like I don't know.
Lakers did the right thing. They did. Because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, LeBron, go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. If you think this is better for you, go somewhere else. Listen, I think LeBron is incredible. He's great. I think he's the second greatest player of all time, which apparently is an insult. You know, my point is like the team is talented. Like on paper, they should be winning, and they're
Yeah.
not. Austin Reeves, good player. Like, and they still have flexibility to make trades in the future. There just wasn't any that really made sense. They're like, we're not giving you a first for DeJounte. Like, you know, it's dumb. It's just like, where is he going? Are you telling me LeBron on Miami with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, he would have to be traded there, right? So it's like,
Unless he takes a major pay cut or something like that.
exactly
Yeah.
like he would have to take a major pay cut in order to play on a better team. What is that team? Cleveland? You know what I mean? It's like all these teams would have to trade for him. The only team that makes sense to me to trade for him is the Knicks. But,
I don't know if after all this, the way the Knicks have been moving, if at the end of this we trade for LeBron James, 40 years old.
here's
I don't
another
know.
thing. Here's
Yeah.
another thing. The Lakers don't have to accept the trade. So if the Knicks are like, because LeBron's not going to sit out games, you know?
Well,
So
he
it's
can
like,
he can opt out and, walk in the summer, but if he
no,
was
no, I know, but he can't go to the Knicks
right,
like unless the Lakers accept the
it'd have to
trade.
be like a sign and trade. Yeah, it has to be
Exactly.
something.
He
Yeah.
can't go to the Knicks unless they accept the trade. So are the Knicks offering all their first round picks for a 39-year-old LeBron James? No,
No,
they're not.
they
I don't
won't.
see LeBron leaving the Lakers. I don't. I think he signs a 1 year. I think he's there for another year. That's what I think. And I don't think there's another team that's as talented that can get him. Am I missing anybody? Because Miami is kind of, they're kind of going down. Like, why would you
That's
want to
true.
go to Miami?
I mean, I would think just off of familiarity, but I'm trying to think.
No, I know, I know. I
Yeah.
see it, but like they again would have to trade for him. And you know what Miami with trades? They're not gonna accept it. And
Like
then like there's
here's
also
Caleb Martin,
get out of here.
Ty Smith.
They wouldn't want to include Jovic in the deal. Like this whole thing is
Right.
like just it's ridiculous. Like all the teams that LeBron would want to go to, A, would not want anything the Lakers would want back, and B, I don't think would he be interested in entertaining it. So was he going to San Antonio? Like,
No,
and that's not a better team than the
the
Lakers.
Lakers.
I just don't see
Right.
him leaving the Lakers, to be honest. As we're talking it out, I mean, is there any team that you're thinking of that you think is possible that would be a better situation than the Lakers right now? Because they
I
could
think
just easily fire Darvin Ham. Like that's an alternative. If it's all on him, they could do that.
I think it's a real question though if they actually want to, because the Lakers are not. they're no longer in the business of spending a lot of money, and they will be paying two head coaches that they fired, and then a third. And then the question is, who are they replacing him with? You
Hmm.
know, unless someone gets fired this offseason who they feel is a good coach, that's always the question. That's tough. That's why they ended up with Darvingham anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I can't think of a team that has assets that they'd be willing to trade to the Lakers to get that. That's only LeBron away from winning. The Knicks obviously is an interesting team. I know there's fans that don't want him because they think we're too good for him. Um, but are you going to send Randall to the Lakers for 40-year-old LeBron? I don't know. I don't think so. It just
No.
seems so uncharacteristic of what the front office has been moving, how
Yeah.
they've been making deals.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a complicated situation. I don't know what would happen. I think you're right. I think he'll probably end up just signing another year, and then maybe he calls it a career. Who knows? He's at the end of it anyway. You know, unless he still believes he can still win a title somewhere.
Hmm.
Just stay in LA. That's where his life is, where his family is. Um,
So
I
why
want to
don't go
go
ahead?
ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was
No,
gonna
you're
say just to rattle through some of the other trades and maybe just which one of these is like significant. We see Patrick Beverly going to the Bucks. I like
I don't mind that
yeah.
because I think they need a juice. Patrick Beverly is one of the most overrated defenders. I mean, I
Thank
think
you.
most people
Jesus
know he's not
Christ,
really
thank
great
you.
at. I think most people know he's not really good at defense anymore. But he's a juicy, like he energizes them. So I don't
Yeah.
mind that. He's like a better version of the Thanasis. Like you know what I mean?
Right, right.
So okay. And
I,
campaign does nothing for
right.
me. I
I
honestly does campaign do anything for Philly?
mean, backup point guard minutes. That's about it.
I mean, what does he do? Isn't he just like Maxi 2.0 off the bench, just like a million times worse? Like, you know what
That's
I
a good way.
mean?
That's a good way to put it.
Just
That's a good way to
saying.
put it.
Go ahead.
Uh, yeah, I like the Beverly move.
It's fine.
Beverly, in theory, plays defense. They need
No,
it really
I don't
badly.
mind it. I don't mind it.
Yeah, it's a
I
decent
don't,
move.
but like if you're telling me like this is gonna help them defensively, like because of him,
No.
it's gonna help them have a juice to like if they're sucking defensively, like Pat Bev's gonna say stuff like, guys, let's guard.
Right.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that Chicago kind of seemed dead last year, and then when they got Pat Bev, they started playing much better.
That's
Like
true.
I don't think that's a coincidence.
Buddy Hield to the Sixers.
I mean, they basically got him for nothing. So no brainer for them. I just don't think it really matters all that much because I don't think Embiid's gonna. I think it's very possible Embiid's played his last game for Philly, and I think
Wow.
76er fans don't want to hear that,
Wow.
especially the family that I have over there. It's very possible to me. Very.
Wow.
Isn't Embiid like 32?
I don't think he's that old. I think he's 30 already though. Or
Let me
at least
tell,
he's got to be
let
30
me double check. No, you're probably right. What's Joel Embiid's
because
age?
he's similar age, I think, to Anthony Davis. He's 29.
He's
Yeah.
29. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. So
When
he's
does he
he's
turn
like
30?
March. So he'll be 30 this season.
So he'll be 30. Okay.
Yeah.
How many healthy MVP like seasons is he going to have?
After this, yeah, that's a good question. Well, this is an MVP season that he's not going to win the award again.
Well,
Uh,
listen, man, like I said, I knew Philly was fraudulent. Embiid was going to have an MVP like season because he's Joel Embiid, and then he needs more help in the playoffs. This roster's not that great. Everyone's like, oh, Daryl Morey, look what he's done post the James Harden. It's like, Daryl Morey, man. Listen, Daryl Morey's a good GM, don't get me wrong. We need to ease our praise of Daryl Morey for a bit until they do something with Embiid. You know, I saw a report that they're interested in trading for Paul George. You think the Clippers are gonna not re-sign
mm,
Paul George now? They're the
whatever.
best team in the Western Conference right now.
Yeah.
They have a legit shot to win. So if you're saying that's your plan, I don't know if that's gonna work. And also, okay, would that keep Embiid there? Probably, but I don't think for that long. Like, I think he would see the
Yeah.
Knicks situation as being great. Like, oh my God, like Brunson, those guys play, they're healthy, they're dogs. Get me on that team in New York City. We're going crazy. I
Paul
think
George
that's a better
also
situation than Philly.
100%. And you know, if you think, oh, too many stars, the Clippers won't re-sign them all. They got Steve Ballmer as an
No,
owner. You
they're
think he
stop
cares?
it. Stop it.
They're opening up a
Anyway,
new arena next season.
I
You think?
yeah. To anybody who doesn't know, I despise the Knicks, and I think they're getting Joel Embiid. Despise them.
Yeah. And Paul George is, how much he's. I know he's having a really good season this year. He hasn't been great. I think he got like hurt in a game like 2 weeks ago. He's been playing through it and he hasn't been great. But Paul George at 33 years old, 34, is he, enough to help Embiid at this stage of his career? I don't think so.
So, what were some of the winners and losers you had? Just a couple.
Well, winner for sure, the Knicks, obviously. Obviously, we talked about it. Uh,
Uh,
I liked Boston getting Xavier Tillman. I would consider them a winner. That's a small move that,
who else do they get? They got a who's the young guy from Philly they got that Sixer fans are really pissed? Jaden Springer?
yes, they traded Jaden Springer.
Sixer fans are really upset about that because
That's
they're
interesting.
because they really like him and they feel like they're helping Boston, who's a contender.
Yeah, that's true. They are.
All right, keep going.
Let me think. Looking at a loser, I'm gonna go with Dallas as a loser. The Lakers
Mhm.
are losers as well, just because they didn't make a move at all. Even if they do end up getting Dinwiddie. Golden
So you
State,
so if you were the Lakers, what would you have done?
that's a good question.
See, I
Uh,
don't know if I can call them a loser because if they're a loser because they didn't trade for DeJounte Murray, like, I'm not sure they would have been a winner if they traded for DeJounte Murray.
I did think they could get Dorian Finney-Smith. It depends on the what the Nets really wanted back. If the Nets want first round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith, then it was never going to happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Then
but
the
they
Nets
just,
would have been a loser.
yeah,
The Nets
probably.
would have been a major loser. I mean, some Nets fans are already calling them a loser. But that was my next question to you. Do you think the Nets are a loser? Because I don't necessarily think they're a loser.
I don't think so. I mean,
I think they did
sure,
okay. It's just
yeah.
not like,
S-
they just don't want to watch like because Nets fans are not going to the games right now because this team is so boring and they just don't know what's this team is.
I
And
didn't
and
realize
before
that.
Knicks fans are like,
Yeah.
oh, you guys never had fans. No, 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 stop. It's a bad
Yeah.
year. It's a bad year. I went to the Nets Warriors game the other day. Tons of Warriors fans. Like I will get the
Wow.
boos for Kyrie were weak as hell. Like I get it.
Yeah,
But
that's
there
what I
are
said.
Nets fans that just don't want to support this team right now because what's there to be excited about? There's a coach we can't stand. At the beginning of the year, it was fine. Like there was excitement, especially when they were
Hmm.
like 13-10. They just beat Phoenix. Like there was excitement. We liked Mikal Bridges, and all that. And then Bridges played terrible for a month. Dinwiddie quit on the team. Jacques Vaughn was a horrendous coach this year, and they were benching Cam Thomas. It was like, why would we want to watch this team? They're doing nothing that we want them to do.
Right.
So what does
Mm,
the Schroeder Thaddeus Young move do? Not much, but gets Dinwiddie out of there, and maybe Schroeder will give him some juice.
yeah. And if you bring better energy around the team, maybe it helps you play a little better.
Mhm.
Cam Thomas is starting now, finally.
Well,
And
now I don't know. They
what?
just they just traded for Dennis
Dennis
Schroeder.
Schroeder.
They just
Yeah.
traded for Dennis Schroeder, who was
Yo.
really upset that he wasn't starting in Toronto.
True.
Really
Very true.
upset. And Ben Simmons just a few days ago was just like, I think
Oh,
I'm
he should
better as a
start.
starter. And he's a point guard.
That's funny,
Point
man.
guard. So,
That's that's
don't
hilarious.
be shocked if Cam Thomas is not starting
Yeah,
because of those two.
that's hilarious. I wouldn't call the Nets a loser though. I think all things considered,
They're a
there's
loser if they do that, though. I will say, if they don't start Cam Thomas post trade deadline, they're a loser, 100%.
I don't know if anything can change what Jacques Vaughn thinks Cam Thomas. I forgot
Did,
who you
did
guys.
Chicago? Did you
Yeah,
see the Chicago Bulls
yes,
broadcast?
I was literally
Oh
just
my
about to bring it
god,
up.
dude! For those who don't know, Stacey King, who's a great color commentator for Chicago, the Chicago Bulls, former player, obviously, and champion, he said they were talking about Kobe White because Kobe White's having a great season. Finally, Kobe White's doing something.
Right.
Um, anyway, they basically were going over most improved player nominations. They're like Kobe White and Cam Thomas was up there because Cam Thomas has been great this year when he's been on the floor. And Stacey King goes, the only person stopping Cam Thomas is Jacques Vaughn and keeping
Yeah.
him on the bench.
I found that
Oh my
hilarious. I was like,
gosh.
yes.
It's
I'm like, if other
embarrassing.
people see it, you know,
It's embarrassing.
it's bad.
Embarrassing for that. But on paper with the moves, I don't necessarily think they're a loser. I don't.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
but are they a winner? I wouldn't say that either.
No.
I just was curious to hear your opinion as a Knicks fan.
Yeah, you're right. Um, Charlotte's a loser, I think. They
Yeah.
it seemed like they gave away a couple players, um, and didn't really get anything back for him in
Grant
return.
Williams
Grant
on
Williams changed
Charlotte is
is weird.
hilarious to
It's
me.
weird.
It's gonna be it's gonna be one of those things that's pretty entertaining. Brandon Miller's been excellent for
Oh
them.
yeah,
To
yes.
me, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, everybody else just whatever with them. Try to find a way to make it work behind those two guys because those two guys are good. Um, I thought Detroit was the biggest loser of the day by far.
I mean, it's just what their season's been like.
How is
Mal
Troy Weaver the GM of that team?
I don't know. I mean, Quentin Grimes is a good player. You know, he's hurt right now. But Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier,
If they
like,
got Quentin Grimes and a first, I'd feel better. They didn't get one first for Bogdanovich. That's
nope.
crazy. And they kept holding on to him. Like, oh, no. There were teams offering them first last year for
Yeah.
Bogdanovich, and they
And they
said
were like,
no.
no. They said no.
I'm sure there was a team that offered them a first for Bogdanovich this year, and they didn't. Just wow.
Yeah, I don't know. 743 on the
If
season.
if PJ Washington is worth Grant Williams and a first,
Right.
how is Bogdanovich not worth a first? Insane. That guy should be gone. Weaver. That's a bad GM. That's a really bad GM. I just want to ask you one more thing, and I don't want to make this too Nets related. What are your thoughts on Sean Marks at this point? Because now it's been 1 year since the Durant Irving trades. We've seen how those work. I personally have defended because some Nets fans are calling Marks one of the worst GMs in NBA history.
Wow.
Some people think Billy King was actually better than Sean Marks because Prokhorov forced Billy King to do things, and Marks wasn't forced. So this is all Marks. I don't think you could say that because how do you ignore the first few years of Marks's tenure where he's inherited one of the worst franchises in the league? And Billy King did take over a 12-70 team, and that was bad.
Mhm.
But he had draft assets. Marks didn't. So the fact that he turned that team into a team with Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, if you think Marks has nothing to do with that, do you think Marks has nothing to do with the fact that they got there? Because some Nets fans don't give him credit for signing those stars.
Of
They
course they
give
had. Of course, how can he not have
how
credit
could you not,
for
right?
how can he not for signing those two guys?
But
Obviously,
I do think you
obviously,
can
yeah.
criticize him for the past 2 years. I want to hear what you say.
Okay. I obviously it didn't work out. You know, the Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Harden, it didn't work out. How much you blame Sean Marks for that? I mean, I'm
What
not
about
sure.
Joe Tsai as well? I want to hear that too.
Joe Tsai, that's maybe a little different because I
But
think
okay.
because I think there was definitely problems with Kyrie there with Joe Tsai, and there was definitely made things worse. So I mean, Kyrie blames Mayor Eric Adams too. So who knows?
So if you're Joe Tsai, what would you have done differently with Kyrie? Because he offered him more money than he got in Dallas.
That's true. I mean,
And there were people. This is the funniest thing. I don't mean to keep interrupting you. I'm sorry, but I'm just
it's
very
all right.
Irving. When the whole the anti-Semitic video came out, there were so many people that were like, Joe Tsai, what are you doing? Suspend Kyrie. What are you doing? And then they suspended him for like indefinitely. And they're like, oh, that's too harsh. Like it's like Joe Tsai can't win there. Nets fans really hate Joe Tsai. And I just think it's because like they're just kind of mediocre now and they think that's what he wanted over the stars. Meanwhile, those stars were just kind of hopeless at that point, I thought. But sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I think I understand that. Like, you feel like you had a contending team and it didn't work out, and you had to blow it up, and now you're trying to rebuild again. That you feel like someone should take the blame for this, whether it's Sean Marks or Joe Tsai or both of them together. But I mean, could you have anticipated that when you sign Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and then you ask for Harden and you end up getting that trade, that it was just going to fall apart so quickly? I don't think so. I think they did what they should have done. You don't deny signing those guys. You don't say no. You
Mm-hmm.
know, obviously, I think there's maybe been a few mistakes along the way, how they treated, the tenure, whether with that whole situation with Kyrie. I mean, he put them in a terrible spot. I mean, Kyrie hasn't worked out anywhere he's gone other than Cleveland, and even there he asked out after winning a title.
Mm-hmm.
I think going forward, I think you don't throw Sean Marks out. You could be mad at Joe Tsai for whatever. I've seen Nets fans are very mad, obviously. I think now see what this how this goes. You have draft capital, you have some young players and Michael Bridges. You have a way forward that you say, all right, let's see what you can do. If you don't end up, I know this season's hasn't gone the way I think people expected. I think you guys were slated to be a playoff team. Not so sure you can be. Maybe you still squeeze into the play in, and But I think you shouldn't make rash decisions. I think you go forward, see what you can do with these draft picks. Maybe in the offseason, you try to get someone. If Donovan Mitchell becomes available, I think that's a very good chance you can get him among the teams that will be interested.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you mentioned Sean Marks, good at drafting. I think if you have someone has a good track record for drafting, that's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
There's teams out there that always have draft picks, they can't draft no one. Look at
Mm-hmm.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit's had some bad luck in the lottery as well, but
Well, Duran's good, but yeah, yeah.
Duran's good, Cade is good.
Ivy, you know.
Ivy, who was they thought they might trade Ivy.
Yeah.
They ended up holding on to Jaden Ivy.
Yeah.
But I'm not as I don't have as much vitriol for what they've done for the Nets. I think obviously it hasn't gone the way you expected, but
Yeah.
I understand the anger.
Yeah.
You got to
I
blame
mean,
somebody.
yeah, I
For
think
some
that's what
reason, they always blame the front office when I think it was more so the players.
yeah.
That helped to get wrong. Harden just walked off on you guys. I mean, how could you see that coming?
Yeah, I mean, some people criticize the bad luck thing, but a lot of it is bad luck. How do you, it's
Yeah,
the once in a generation pandemic kind of ruined it. Like Kyrie didn't want to get the vaccine. Kyrie didn't even blame Joe Tsai. He didn't blame, Sean Marks. He said Eric
he blamed
Adams.
Eric Adams. He
But
said blame him.
it's clear Cy and Irving did not get along. And how could you Irving pulled so much BS in Brooklyn? I mean, just look all of it. It wasn't just the vaccine stuff, no matter how what you cited there. It was multiple things.
When he just went to like his like a family member's birthday party, he kind of just left, didn't say
Yeah, he
anything.
disappeared, didn't tell the coach. I mean, that's not on Sean Marks or Joe Tsai. So listen, Nets fans want a direction. This is the direction. They're trying to get Donovan Mitchell. And that is it. And they're going to try and get Mitchell, and they're going to try and go on from there. Some Nets fans think Mark should be gone just purely just to get the stench of the old regime out of just the old, all that. And I can understand that if you want a fresh start, but I just don't know if a fresh start, people have said throw the bag at Bob Myers. If we're being real, did Bob Myers draft Steph Curry?
Yeah.
Did Bob Myers draft Klay Thompson?
No.
I don't even think, did Bob Myers draft Draymond Green? I'm
Not
not
sure he
really
was I'm
sure.
not sure he was there yet
He signed Kevin Durant. Do you think Kevin Durant signed with the Golden State Warriors because of Bob
because of Bob
Myers?
Myers. No.
I will give Bob Myers credit. He added some nice veteran pieces around those guys. You know what Bob Myers also did? He drafted James Wiseman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kaminga's worked out so far, but he didn't live to tell that truth. He could have drafted Franz Wagner.
That's
Okay.
true.
So are we gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, Bob Myers is gonna be way better with him? I'm just saying, like, sometimes luck plays a lot into this. And I'm not really defending Marks in the last 2 years. I guess it kind of sounds like I am, but to me, they made the decision when they don't trade for Mikal Bridges for their picks back that they think they're getting Donovan Mitchell. It's the only way.
Has to be.
They're very confident. And you know what? No GM in the history of the Nets has been able to get stars there,
Except for Sean Marks.
except for Sean Marks. So I think it looks rough now. I don't think they had a horrendous trade deadline. That they got the best they could for Dinwiddie. But at the end of the day, Nets fans are still sour over how the Big Three era went, and it's tough. But I just don't know if Marks is the guy to kill yet. I know this year's been disappointing. He hasn't been good with coaches, although I understood giving Jacques Vaughn a chance, but
Yeah,
Jacques Vaughn has not been good this year. And I think Jacques Vaughn will be gone in the summer. That's just my opinion. And I think they're just waiting.
yeah, you should.
So that's really all I have to say, man.
Yeah. Uh, Overall, weird trade deadline. Didn't see the Bulls do anything either. Zach LaVine's still a Bull.
Yeah, that's a disgrace.
You know, I actually saw Windhorse say that they were actually looking to buy. So I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, that's a disaster.
Um, but that is all we have for our trade deadline special. I'd like to thank James Boyces for coming on. It's always a pleasure.
And Dan, same as you. Great talking to you as always. Great having you on mine as well. This will be on both of ours.
Yes. All right. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe to the channel. You can also check out the JB podcast. All his information will be in the description. This is the same podcast.
Yep.
So if you want to listen to it twice, you should.
Yep. And Dan's will be in ours as well. So we just didn't, this is something that we couldn't talk about different topics on. We wanted to
Right.
basically analyze all the trades, talk about all the teams, etc.
And it would have been exhausting doing this twice for no
Yeah.
reason.
And plus, I think our teams were pretty active at the deadline. So we wanted to kind of talk about that.
I'm very happy.
You should be.
Very happy.
Can't say I am necessarily, but, is what it is.
Could be.
Happy they didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
All right, man.